Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for today's update. I'm joined this afternoon by the President and CEO of the San Diego Housing Commission, Ric Gentry, as well as a San Diego landlord of ABN Property Holdings, David Anzac. Looking forward to introducing them in just a second. I want to begin this afternoon by continuing to thank San Diegans for all of their patience and for doing all of the right things, and continuing to follow all of the stay-at-home orders. This pandemic obviously has affected all of us, and now we're looking at what steps that we must take in the right ways to return to normal, quote unquote. But it's really critical that our decision-making as a city and as a region be informed by data, and that it accomplishes our key public health objectives, and it won't be driven by politics or emotions. The county, the state, and the White House are following 3 data points and helping to make some of these decisions to informs how we move forward. These gating criteria, as they are known, include symptoms, a downward trend of flu-like hospitals reported in a 14-day period, cases, of course, a downward trend of COVID cases over a 14-day period, and hospitalization, ensuring that we are maintaining good capacity in our hospitals and making progress on community testing. And we are seeing progress in all of those categories, but we're not there yet. We still need everyone's cooperation. We need your patience, and we'll have more to come, of course, on this as we continue to keep a watchful eye. But again, as I've begun these updates over the last several weeks, thank you to San Diego. Thank you for what you're doing. It is not easy, but the reason our region is doing so well compared to other areas is because we have acted quickly, because we have taken this seriously, and because San Diegans have complied. Today I'd like to provide just a couple of updates. First, how San Diego is tackling its homeless crisis amid the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm going to provide some updates on what we're doing, particularly at the convention center. Second, an update on neighborhood parks, which saw a limited opening for passive use starting today. Third, an update on our public safety professionals. And lastly, of course, I'll be highlighting the work that San Diegans are doing to step up in this great time of need. More of the issues on our housing, our homeless population. Landlords need renters. Property owners need to pay their mortgage. And homeless San Diegans need homes. COVID-19 has amplified all of these needs, and they can all be addressed with one solution. Today I am calling on San Diego landlords to join us in housing San Diego's homeless. I'm calling on them to sign up for our landlord incentive program called LEAP. It's a program that allows landlords to get paid to do good, to help people. And this is needed now more than ever. But it's not new. In 2016, we launched the Housing Our Heroes initiative. In just 18 months, we housed 1,000 veterans, but we didn't stop there. In 2017, we expanded to serve all homeless individuals, and that's when this landlord program really took off. In total, 2,300 people have been housed so far, and that's where Operation Shelter to Home comes in. What's happening at the convention center? Right now, as you know, hundreds of San Diegans are at the convention center, and we want to house as many of them as we can. We need housing. Landlords need funding, and the time to do that is now. An entire team of housing navigators is ready to help sign leases. They're prepared to place people into additional units as soon as they're available. So landlords, here's what you need to know about the LEAP program, Landlord Engagement and Assistance Program. We have incentives of $500 for the first unit rented to a homeless individual, up to 2 times rent in security deposits, plus an average of $100 in utility assistance per household. A contingency fund that'll help landlords cover expenses, such as repairs that may exceed security deposits. And the staff at the San Diego Housing Commission is ready willing, and able to help answer your questions. I will tell you the Housing Commission has been an incredible partner in the efforts that are happening at the Convention Center. I want to thank them for all that they have done over the years and continue to do, especially as it relates to transitioning folks from the Convention Center into an apartment of their own. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce President and CEO of the San Diego Housing Commission, who's going to join us via video, Ric Gentry. Ric, welcome. Glad you're here today.
Thank you, Mayor Faulconer. I appreciate that, and it's very good to be here with you all. As I'm not going to try to repeat the numbers that Mayor Faulconer just indicated to you, but I would just like to reiterate that the Housing Commission and the city have been partners in the efforts to house homeless San Diegans for some time now. The Housing of Heroes program, which ran for 18 months from 2016 to 2017, allowed us to house some 1,000 veterans utilizing the existing housing base here in San Diego, existing landlords that we already had relationships with, and added some new ones to it. The mayor indicated very well the incentives that are there for the landlords. And I think this particular program offers, through the LEAP program, offers the ability not only to house some of the most vulnerable citizens who absolutely need the shelter, but also a program that will help the landlords who may, in some cases, be experiencing some financial hardships on their own. And the program, as it's set up, as the mayor indicated, will provide not only funding to help pay the rent for these individuals every month, but also provides incentives up front in terms of signing bonuses, and also provides security on the back end with helping to pay for any necessary and untoward damages that might occur to any property. So our assurance to the landlords is that this is a program we've been operating a number of years. We have something like 700 total landlords that are working in our programs now, and we've added about 300 to the program ever since we started doing the Housing of Heroes program, which has morphed into the the LEAP program as well. In addition to the 1,000 Housing of Heroes individuals and families helped in the Housing of Heroes program, I'll point out that we've added since July the 1st, 2017, an additional 2,300 individuals and families off the streets utilizing the LEAP program. So in total, some 3,300 individuals and families, individual households that have been helped through this program going back to 2016. And it's worked in concert with the private sector and with the landlords who are willing to participate. I thank the mayor for his leadership in this effort, as well as City Council President Georgette Gomez and Council Member Chris Ward, who also chairs the Regional Task Force on the Homeless. This is a true partnership. It's an effort to try to work together to get our folks off the streets. We thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Ric. Thank you for all of the work at our Housing Commission. And again, how important this is with our landlords to help provide the spaces that are, again, going to get folks out of the Convention Center and off the streets and into that permanent place of their own. Now you're going to hear from one of those San Diego landlords who's been a part of this program, David Anzac of ABN Property Holdings. David was actually one of the early participants in the Housing Our Heroes program several years ago that really focused on our veterans. And he continues to be part of the Landlord Engagement and Assistance Program. So David, the floor is yours if you can hear me. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor Faulconer, and thank you, Mr. Gentry. The Landlord Incentive Program is something that has really worked for us the past couple of years. Like Mayor Faulconer said, we were one of the first participants in the program. As Mr. Gentry said and Mr. Faulconer said, there are a lot of incentives to participating in the program, including the Landlord Contingency Fund. Any damages or any liabilities that are incurred above and beyond the security deposit are covered by the Housing Commission. The Landlord Incentive Program provides a benefit to participate and to accept Section 8 participants. The Vacancy Loss Program is a big benefit to us. This aspect of the program covers rents when a unleased unit is rented to a Section 8 participant or elite participant. So it really helps out in covering the gap between tenants. And that's a big thing for us because it helps to defray some of those vacancy loss costs. It's a really great program. I'm a big advocate of it, especially now when a lot of people are and landlords are being affected by difficulty in paying rent. It's a huge benefit to us to have the security to know that the Housing Commission is going to pay the rent. It takes a lot of that. Are tenants going to pay or not going to pay? We know that the Housing Commission is going to pay their rent every month. So it gives us a lot of security and comfort and the ability to plan to know how we're going to move forward in addressing this pandemic.
Terrific. Well, thank you, David. Thank you for being a part of this program to help reduce homelessness in San Diego. And I would say to other landlords that are out there that are watching, we need you to join. We'd like you to help participate. We have a lot of need at the convention center that we need to transition. You can join by going to the San Diego Housing Commission, or you can just go to our website, sandiego.gov/coronavirus for more information. Next up, I want to give an update on the testing that's happening at the convention center. First off, our ongoing COVID-19 testing for homeless individuals, staff, and volunteers continues again. This is a preemptive move to make sure that we are preventing the spread of COVID-19. And as I said from the beginning, we do expect some positive tests in the asymptomatic population, but thus far we haven't had any of those. Because as we all know, it is possible for people to have COVID-19 and exhibit no symptoms. So we want to identify those individuals to help contain any spread. Here are the latest numbers. We had 975 folks in shelter this morning. 200 of those are individuals who were living on the street and that came in through our outreach teams. As of 8 a.m. this morning, 199 tests have been conducted since last Thursday. No tests were done over the weekend. We have had 0 positive tests to date. 149 were negative, and 45 are still pending. And as a reminder, health is monitored every day for our convention center folks. Anyone who exhibits symptoms is removed, placed in any of the hotels that we have available. So I want to, again, commend everybody who's out there at the convention center. Thank again the Lucky Duck Foundation, Family Health Centers for the testing, and to all of our providers who are doing incredible work. Topic number 2 today, update on our neighborhood parks, which, saw limited openings today. The first day went very well. No major issues at all to report. Thank you again, San Diegans, doing the right thing, keeping that social distancing. Barricades came down this morning at neighborhood parks all across the city. We had our staff out there giving people information about what folks are allowed to do, what folks are not allowed to do. Signs have been posted with the rules, the physical distancing requirements, the prohibition on gatherings and group sports, and face coverings, of course, are strongly recommended. As a reminder, the parks are for passive use. This means things like walking, jogging, hiking, cycling. Rec centers, skate parks, basketball courts, and the like are still closed at this time. Household units, family members can be together because they've been staying at home together. But unless you're with your household unit, you should be conducting your activity at the park alone while keeping a physical distance of at least 6 feet. People, as I said, are following the rules. It was a very good first day. So thank you. Keep it up. We are going to continue a data-driven and public safety approach as we look to whether we continue to dial things up or dial things down. More to come on that later this week. Topic number 3, our regular update on public safety professionals. At this time, we are announcing that 3 additional officers have tested positive for COVID-19 within our San Diego Police Department. I had the opportunity to reach out to them this afternoon and wish them a very speedy recovery. This brings our total to 7 officers for the San Diego Police Department, 4 lifeguards, and 1 firefighter. I think this serves as a powerful reminder to all of us that we are seeing progress. We are seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, but we're not there yet. And we must remain vigilant as we continue to do our part for all of us, for all of our families, and all of our first responders that are out there keeping us safe every day and every night. Finally today, our continued efforts to highlight San Diegans stepping up in a time of great need. On April 1st, we did launch Operation Shelter to Home at the Convention Center, which I talked a lot about today, to help individuals experiencing homelessness. And we have 2 very clear goals: keep everybody safe and healthy, but also to help them find housing. And so far, we've been able to find a permanent home for 14 individuals at the Convention Center, and those efforts are ramping up every single day. So I just want to highlight 2 people who represent the goal of Shelter to Home, 2 people who really represent the hope of everyone who's a homeless individual inside the walls of the Convention Center. First is Jeremiah, who had been homeless for years before entering the city's Bridge Shelter program a couple of months ago. He went in because he wanted to turn his life around so he could reunite with his family, and he's been working every single day toward that goal. He's been successful. The second person is Ola, who's a bus driver who became homeless after a severe heart attack. She entered the shelter program wanting to find her independence again and get back on her feet. I'm very happy to report that both Jeremiah and Ola have worked tremendously hard with their case managers to get their lives back on track. And now both have been placed in a permanent home of their very own because of the services that are happening there. We're proud of you, Jeremiah and Olga. This whole city is proud of you. And we look forward to sharing many, many success stories like that that are coming out of the Convention Center with all of our providers that are on site, really helping to move the needle and help San Diegans in need. This is just the start. There will be a lot more. And so with today's call to action with our landlord community, we are working very diligently, very expeditiously to really set the model, to have the results that we need, and to help those that are most vulnerable. So thank you to everybody that's involved in Shelter to Home. We will get through this. We will get through this together. Thank you, San Diegans, for doing the right thing, the continued progress. And with that, I will pause and answer any questions from members of the media.
Mr. Mayor, the first question from today comes from Lisa Halverstad with Voice of San Diego.
Hello, Lisa.
Hello. As always, I've got more than one question. So my first question is, I know that the city has been limiting the number of people coming in off the street every day, and I'm wondering how many new people the convention center is able to take in each day, and if that might change soon.
Yeah, it is.
And
yeah, go ahead.
we'll start
ask
with
your
that, and
second
then
one. Go ahead.
the second question I had is, how would you respond to people, including some homeless San Diegans, who are thinking about the convention center or are concerned, and thinking about these outbreaks in places like San Francisco and Boston, where there have been a lot of COVID-19 cases in shelters with hundreds of beds or dozens of beds in close proximity to one another?
No, thank you for your questions, and I'll answer the second one first. Part of the whole reason why we stood up the convention center is because the great work that was happening in our shelters was done in confines that were too close together, bunk beds, et cetera. So we had to get that physical distancing to allow for a safe, sanitary, clean environment. So a tremendous amount of work to make sure that people are healthy. All of the temperature checks that are happening every single day at the convention center, again, checking for symptoms. And of course, the extra step that's happening now, testing everybody, looking for any people that may have asymptomatic COVID-19. We haven't had one yet. As I said, I expect that we might. But again, out of the 200, none so far. But that type of testing is done to ensure not only the protection of the individuals that are in the shelter, but also for our providers that are there on site. The answer to your first question is we bring folks in. They're really done by an outreach team and efforts, and that's incredibly important. And we've seen how, again, 200 have come in just in the last week in a very orderly, methodical approach, but again, on an individual basis that brings in the right type of individual that that wants to get off the streets. It's done with case managers, case workers, and again, that is a direct person-to-person outreach with a goal that's ramping up very quickly. That's what we wanted. We wanted, our first step was to get everybody that was in our bridge shelters, about 800, and then start bringing in folks off the street. I can't say enough about all the outreach that is working, city, county, all of our providers. That's what we want. There is a safe, compassionate place for you at the convention center. The more we get the word out, the more we do that, the more folks we get in and then transition to a place of their own. That's the goal. And I'm heartened, I really am, by how well it's been working so far. Very difficult situation in terms of what's happening, but I'll tell you, the spirit, the camaraderie, the momentum of all of our providers really is phenomenal to see. And that represents just a great success for our city. Thank you for the question.
And the next question comes from Jacqueline with Fox 5.
Hello, Jacqueline.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
So
Thank you.
I just had a couple questions. One being the fact that I know the county reported 15 new deaths today, same day as some of these parks are reopening, which you touched on. Does that at all concern you guys that maybe we're starting to reopen too soon?
No, everything we've done is in collaboration with our county partners. That's why I said at the very upfront in the beginning, we want to take a data-driven approach and a public health approach. We've said that from the very beginning. And I think that's been a hallmark of how the city and the county and all of the folks are working together. Obviously, as the county said, you have a lagging indicator in some of that data, but this is why we are not out of this yet. This is why the social distancing is still incredibly important. This is why we've had limited openings. This is why we have very clear rules of what we're going to do and strike that right balance. So we've been very fortunate to have the progress that we've had in San Diego, the San Diego region, in terms of flattening that curve. That has to continue for us to do more. And we will do it in partnership, in close partnership with our public health officials.
And the next question comes from Omari with NBC7.
Hello, Omari. Can you hear me, Omari?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. You can hear me now, right, Mayor?
I can hear you.
Okay.
The mute thing
All right, sorry
happens a
about
lot
that.
with all of us these days. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Economic question. Wanted to know how much money the city is expecting from the federal government's pandemic relief fund and how will or can that money be used to help stem the budget shortfall?
Yeah, no, thank you. And we're working on that as we speak. I'll get you the specific dollar amounts because I think we should know that in the coming days. And I think to the second part of your question, there are some rules in terms of how the dollars can be used in COVID-related expenses. But those are some of the things that not only are we working on in San Diego, but I can tell you from conversations I've had with mayors up and down California, trying to get some clarity as to what we can use those dollars for, those federal relief dollars for, and what we can't use them for. I think we're going to get some of that clarity in the coming days. So then we're be able to jump in terms of our budget, all the things that we're going to be doing to know specifically what those rules of the road are. And we're pushing as expeditiously as we can to get some of that from Treasury and other folks in Washington, D.C. I think that was our last question today. Thank you all. Thank you, San Diego, for continuing to do the right thing. I look forward to tomorrow's update. Thank you.